Okay, yeah, right. Okay, so I don't know what you know of Blink so far, but it's a cloud-based system. We've designed it to keep it quite simple and hopefully intuitive and easy to use. So I'll dive straight in. Everyone has their own, every Blink system is unique with its own URL in the browser address bar here. So this one is a demo system, highstreet.blinkoms.co.uk. I've just logged in. Oh, there we go. Okay, so yeah, so straight into Blink. As I say, that all the patients on here are just dummy patients, but the actual prescriptions and the content is real and valid data. So hopefully it all gives you a good picture, of what it might look like in your practice. If I go to new patient, I won't go and fill all of the forms in every time, but basically we've got a new patient form where I can add a new patient onto the system. Obviously, we've got a postcode lookup, which you can buy credits for and use. The fields with the asterisks by them, the red asterisks, they're all mandatory fields, but those are configurable. So, you know, if you some people just want to enter a first name and surname and a postcode and get the patients onto the system as quickly as possible. So that's all doable. On the right-hand side, we've got a series of configurable questions, so I can add any question or sort of, any bit of information that you want to record on the regarding a patient. I can add it down this right-hand side. By default here, I've got some NHS related information, so I've just ticked the NHS box. I've got NHS number and NI number, HC2 details, and the contribution for HC3. And then this is just a new bit that's just recently been added with in view of filling in the eGOS forms. So basically I've got a GOS eligibility section, and if you set this up in advance for your patient, so for example I might say that the patient is on JSA, when it comes, and I might say that I've seen the evidence of this, so when it comes to filling in the GOS forms later on, those fields will already be populated, pre-populated with that information. If maybe I select that the patient is a student or is blind or registered blind, then obviously I can then enter the establishment name and town, which are the two key bits of information that need to go on to the new eGOS forms. So yeah, so I can enter that kind of information here when I'm creating patients or obviously editing the existing patients. Patient type as well is another key thing. So we've got color coding and different ways of targeting patients all through this patient type. And as I say, I can add any bit of information that you want to record against each patient there. So finding patients, I've got a quick find, it's a quick search box in the top right left-hand corner here, so I can put in either an ID number or partially put in a surname. So I'll just put in SMI, click search. Okay, that's just warning me that I'm leaving this page without saving anything. I'm just going to continue with that. So this has retrieved all of the patients on the system with SMI in the surname, which happens to be every single patient on the system is called Smith. Yeah, and I can select any at random. So I'll select one here, and obviously we're going to the patient summary, and this shows currently what the patient, the information that the system holds for the patient, obviously their contact details, their prescription down at the bottom below, last appointment information, last full examination date, and when the next full examination is due. And then in the top right hand corner here in red, you've got the text that they've currently got outstanding items to collect, as well if they owed money for those items, it would also show it there. Okay. So basically we've color coded the menu across the top here. So the blue menu, patient data, displays the blue left-hand menu here. So obviously I can go into new patient, new family, or find a patient, which I've just touched on already. And then under patient information, we've got the summary, which we're looking at now, patient details, which just allows me to edit those key data, bits of data that I would have entered when I create a new patient. I've got an examination history where I can see the previous examinations. I've got contact lens history, again, the same. This patient doesn't have any contact lens data. I've got a notes and attachments section, so I can upload scanned images, scanned letters, images generated by bits of equipment and so on. I can add them to the patient's record here. So if I enter a test attachment, I'll tick the box to show it in summary, and I'll just locate it on my desktop. So I'm just going to find a file. And click on Add Note. So that's uploaded that image onto this patient's record. And if I go to the patient summary, because I tick the box to say show it on the patient summary, it's appeared down here in yellow in the bottom left-hand corner, like as just a note. So that's notes and attachments. I've got a quite fairly basic medical background section, which is basically just a case of ticking boxes to say whether patients have a particular condition, and the free text box where you can write notes about that condition. Dispensing history, again, obviously shows the dispenses and the sales and the payments that that patient has made. Lifestyle notes, so this is basically the section where I can add any of the questions that you want to, or the bits of data that you might want to record against the patient. And though some of these were listed on that new patient detail form that I showed you at the beginning. So basically they're all part of the patient lifestyle notes section. And then finally on this patient information, I've got document history. So obviously it records any reminders that this particular patient has been sent, or any SMS text that has been sent, and so on. Below the patient information, I've got new examination. So I may as well go straight in and show you the examination form. So I'm going to go into new examination, spectacle exam. Now, because this patient has had a previous examination, has got a previous examination on the system, the examination form is pre-populated with their previous data. So all of this information was what was recorded on their last visit. That is an option. So if you didn't want that to happen, I can turn that, configure and turn that option off. Also on here, we've got defaults. So if I hover my mouse over the set default text here, you can see that these are the defaults that this system is set up with. You can obviously also select your own, or specify your own defaults. And if I just click on set default, it will just populate these free text boxes. So yeah, so I should have said we've got, so this is on the examination form. Obviously I'm specifying the date, the location, and the staff member who's conducting the examination. And then we've got 4 tabs: history and symptoms, ophthalmoscopy and external examination, further investigative techniques, and refraction. So on history and symptoms, as I say, we've got these free text boxes along with some medication information and a place to put some other notes and record glaucoma and diabetic statuses and so on. On ophthalmoscopy and external examination, we've got a series of drop-down boxes and free text boxes here. So like I said, if this patient had data selected in the previous examination, it would have been populated here. If not, we could also set up defaults, and those default values would be predefined. If I double click, yeah, there is a default on there. So I'm just double clicking some of these free text boxes. They don't all have defaults set at the moment, but a few of them do. So yeah, so anything in these drop-down boxes you can request to be removed, or any new things, new items added on, you can put those in. Just a few little notation boxes here. So just a few little tiny small graphics where you can make a mark on the eye, for example, here, and put in some notes. Oh, sorry, one thing I didn't mention there. Obviously, we've got, as I said, we try and aim that the system is quick and easy to use. So obviously, we've got various sets of shortcuts. So you can just click on the text there to copy the right eye values straight onto the left eye if they're the same or almost the same. Further investigative techniques. Again, we've got a few shortcuts in place. So if I click on All Fine here with CT with RX, and it pre-populate some default values, things like double clicking the time will obviously put in the current date and time, the current time for the pre-IOP values. At any time we can obviously save and record this examination, and then obviously if you're coming back to check things later on in the examination process, then you can go back and edit it, but I'm just filling it in for now. If I go to the refraction section, again, because this patient has got a previous examination on the system, I can click the text here, which will pre-populate their previous RX. And then again, for speed, I can click the text here to populate the current or subjective RX from their previous prescription. Other time-saving tricks that we've got, I suppose, if I just type 125, for example, in there and then just tab away from the box, it'll automatically put in the points and the plus or negative signs, double clicking to swap, to toggle between negative and positive and so on. There's various bits of verification and validation in, so if I put in something which is invalid into any of these boxes, it obviously highlights it as here in red, and I won't let you save it until that's corrected. And then pretty much the only compulsory fields when you're completing an examination is just to select an outcome. So I might want to say that this is a new RX, and then I need to select a retest date. Now it can automatically populate a retest date based on a default, or obviously in this case it's just configured just to be selected manually. So as soon as I save that, it uses this retest date as part of the recall system, which we can come to later. So I'll just save that examination. It's saved it, gives me the option to print out a summary if I want to, or at least just check over the summary, and then returns me back to the patient summary page. Okay, so yeah, it's a new examination. So obviously we've got different types of examination. I've just gone through the spectacle exam. We've got a red eye check, or different people use that extra check examination form for their own various examination types. We've got a post-op exam type, which just is I'm not particularly clinical, but you might know more. But I think that was put in at the request of somebody who does laser surgery and things like that. So they would record certain bits of information after an operation like that. We've got the contact lens examination form. So the way the contact lens examination form works is you would typically see a patient and record their contact lens exam. First of all, the part one, where you'd obviously record their history and symptoms and various other bits of information in these free text boxes, again with defaults to pre-populate them based on your requirements. And then down in part two, where we add in a prescription and the lenses given and so on. Yeah, I'll just put in the base curve and obviously specify a retest date and save the contact lens examination. So I'll go straight into system admin now. I'll show you a few of the features within the system admin section. Under stock, here on the left hand side, I can edit stock, or obviously I can add stock. So the stock is set up into stock types and groups. So I'll select my practice, the stock type, excuse me, in this instance, contact lenses. I've got various current stock groups under contact lenses. So daily lenses, I've got 24 items in daily lenses. I can obviously edit any of these, or I can add items. I can add new items to them or remove these. So, so yeah, it's totally configurable by yourselves. If you've got lots of stock, lots of new frames, for example, there is a stock update section, so you can put your stock into a text file of a specific format and then upload it into Blink in one-off. And like I say, I'm more than happy to help you do things like this as you're going along. But if you've got the technical experience and the time at your side, then you can do it yourselves as well. So yeah, while we're in the system admin section, users, I can add GPs to the system. I can add staff members or edit staff members, and edit in practice. That's just storing information about this particular practice on the system. And the diary, I can add or edit appointment types. So, we can obviously create diabetic examination here. You can color code it so that when we go to the diary, which we'll come to in a second, everything stands out and is color coded, and set the default length, of appointments and so on. Medical conditions. So here is where I can set up any bits of information that I just want to record about a particular patient. Template management. The system for letters and recalls uses a series of templates, so I can create, like for example, here's a glasses ready. It looks like a text, basically a text template. This one, just to text the patients to say that glasses are ready, but I might also have a letter, for example, here. And so there's the content of my letter. Everything in the square brackets here gets substituted in from the database in the mail merge type format. Okay, if I go back to system admin, we've got data management. So if I want to export system data out of the system, for your own peace of mind as far as backups and things like that, you can export patient information out of the system into a spreadsheet, or you can do some basic patient data imports, which will just allow you to import those key bits of information about patients if you've got them in another system, or if it's more complicated or you just want our help anyway, I'm more than happy to import data in for you. Audit log. We do have a configurable audit log, so it tracks and records access in the system. It usually gets overwritten. I think the default is 14 days, but you can download that audit log just to track who's viewed which patients and so on. And then the final section in system admin is reporting, which I'll come back to in a minute because there's quite a few key things in there. Okay, so that's pretty much patient data. We've obviously done most of system admin. If I go into the diary next, it's probably a good place to go. So I can set a diary up for any number of staff members. So I've just got one diary set up in here, but obviously if you've got 2 clinics, you could set up a diary for each clinic and have them side by side. The clinic start and end times can be configured in the admin section. So this, to be honest, this is just grayed out for everything. So I'll actually just need to go and enable that. Edit staff. I can specify here, okay, it's Tuesday, there's no clinic apart from Tuesday. So if I just set up a clinic on a Wednesday, yeah, it's okay. So I've just created a clinic here. Obviously, by doing what I've done, that's a clinic for every Wednesday. And obviously, well, it looks like Monday and Tuesday. So maybe this one has been, some of the, you can override the regular clinic start and end times. If I right click on here and say adjust working hours, obviously the standard clinic time there is 9:15 to 5:15. I obviously can change that on a one-off basis. Yeah, so adding patients into the diary is just a double click to bring up the appointment slot. It will select the current patient. So the current patient we've got here selected is Richard Smith. So, and I can select the appointment type. So again, these are all configurable, as we just briefly looked at. So a private examination, for example, obviously comes in with a default length of 30, but I can change that. And if I just save, obviously I can print a reminder if the patient's with me when they're booking it and give them that to take away. if I right click, I can add general events to the diary. So these aren't appointments and they're not linked directly to a patient, but if I want to put in staff training or lunch or whatever, I can do that there. It's pretty self-explanatory, the diary. I can obviously drag and drop and move things around, but yeah, unless there's anything specific you want to ask about that, we'll jump over that for the time being. So that's the diary. If I go into dispensing next, so obviously I showed you briefly the stock admin section, so I can set up all the stock on the system. I'm going to the dispensing. We've set up in various sections, so private or funded examinations. So obviously I can edit, create default examination types with the prices and so on. I can select them here. I'll select in this case a funded examination so that we can illustrate the EGOS side of things. So if this was an NHS GOS1 site test, for example, I'll just click select here. As I'm selecting these options in this main part of the section, the sale total will constantly be added to. So the NHS site test for GOS1 has initially gone in there. It's greyed out because obviously it's not actually being charged to the patient. Under Spectacles 1, again, these can be configured and set up in various ways, but I'll just select Wolf consignment specs. So select Wolf frame, and then I'll select the lens. Obviously, I can search for things or just go to these drop-down boxes. So I'm going to select from all single visions lenses. Just select an SLR lens. Once I've selected the lens, I then get the opportunity to add some extra lab information. First of all, I can specify whether it's distance near and so on, add in a PD, and height if it's varifocal or bifocal, and obviously other lab information here, including the due date. So I might want to say that these frames should be back within 2 weeks, click the 20th of the 10th. Obviously, it's got the patient's prescription here just to check and confirm. And then finally, in the spectacle section here, we've got the NHS voucher. So again, as I mentioned, as I've been clicking on the buttons up above, the sale total section's been modified and adjusted and things added to it. If some people use the system and enter their stock in quite a rigid format and make some models and use the stock quantity features to track their stock and so on. Others use it on a more generic basis, and they might just have a general frame icon button, and they might want to change the price at the point of dispense, which I can do here, and I can change the actual description of the frame or the size, the color, or the lens. So it's quite varied and versatile. You can do pretty much anything with that. And obviously, if I tick on the box to say this as an A voucher, then with the deduct value from sale button checkbox ticked, that also reduces the sale total by £39.10 for the voucher A. I would do the same for Spectacles 2, and then obviously I've got a contact lens section as well, so it brings in the lenses that have been supplied or suggested by the optometrist, and I can select them, add them to the dispense down below. And then finally, we've got an accessories and vouchers, so I might want to add some solutions or any other accessories I want into the sale. Once I'm happy with everything there, I might want to say that the patient is paying a deposit of £100, which leaves them with £10.90 to pay. And then obviously I can print a receipt or print a lab summary, and I can also choose at this point to send a receipt by email or SMS. SMS does require the system to be configured and set up for that, so you just need to sort that out with me. But I'll just I'll tick the receipt box and click place order. So that's successfully recorded the sale and brings up a receipt of an A4 receipt or a till roll style receipt. And all the printers through your browser, so it's just a case of sending it to the printer that's on your network. I will just obviously print out that, which you can give to the patient. Okay, so that's dispensing. I'll skip over recalls for a bit and go into the GOS side of things. I think since it follows directly on from dispensing. So on the left-hand menu here, the blue left-hand menu under GOS, obviously the way things are at the moment, I can print out the old style GOS forms. So this is obviously printing a GOS 2 with the prescription I've just put in. The performance list number is not set up on this system, but obviously if you've got multiple optoms, then they can all have the GOC numbers in the system, and it will print out the relevant one on the form based on who's done the examination. And obviously I can send that to my printer. Same for the others. Obviously the GOS1 potentially have been done before the person came into the clinic, and you can also batch print your GOS forms, so I can show you that in a second when we come to the system admin. But obviously the key thing at the moment is the EGOS. So if I go straight to EGOS down at the bottom, so we've got a search filtering system, so I can search between dates. I can search for patient ID, specific patient IDs. So this one's 1083, or I can search on surname and so on. If I search for that patient ID, so this is the patient who I've just created a dispense for, and because I selected the GOS1 test and obviously selected, I think it was an A voucher in GOS3, it's put these buttons in here. Just for backwards compatibility, I can, if I don't want to use the EGOS system, but I do want to track and monitor the submission of the forms that you might send by paper, I could tick these boxes and say that I've just to tell the system that I'm sending them by paper, and then obviously you can manually update the system when those payments are made and so on. But obviously at the moment we're doing EGOS, so if I click on GOS1, it brings up the new style GOS1 form, all populated as much as possible. So obviously you meant going back to your question about printing. But yeah, so assuming we are using EGOS, then obviously I'll just quickly go through the process of submitting this form. So as I say, if I'd have set this patient up with various eligibility criteria, it would have automatically populated here, but as I've not, I'll just manually enter the information in. So I can say that I've seen the fact that this person, for example, is on income support, and I can click the box here to sign. I'm using my mouse to sign this, so I'll just put a squiggle in here. If you've got a touchscreen device, you can use touchscreen, or what I'm suggesting to any Blink users is to buy a USB tablet and pen. They cost about £25, and okay, I'll just connect directly to your computer, and it basically works like a mouse, but you hold it like a pen, so it's just a bit easier to write with. Once I've made a squiggle in there and okay that, it obviously puts the signature in the box, and I can go to the top right corner here and click. Now, first of all, I need to specify a date of last site test or first test or not known, so I'll just put first test of the form to fill in. But let's say I don't want to do that there and then. I'm going to close that tab down and refresh this reports page. So now I can view the front by clicking on this button here, or I can view / edit the reverse. So if I view the front, there's the data, including the squiggle that I've got in the patient's signature. I can't actually edit that there, but if you did realize there was something incorrect on the form, I can delete it and just start that process again of completing that front of that form. Later on, or the following day, or whenever, I can go in and look at the reverse of the form, and as the clinician or an admin member of staff who knows the outcomes and all of the details of the prescription, I can complete the rest of the form. I might say it's a new prescription, and obviously here, if I need to enter a retest code, which you mentioned, as I say, maybe one thing I can add to the system is putting storing that retest code in the lifestyle notes so that it automatically comes through. I need to specify now that the patient has been issued with an A voucher. The performer's name and this number and the contractor's name and this number will come through usually. This hasn't brought through this number for some reason, I'm not quite sure why. I'm just going to put my name in there. Once I've completed as much of the form that's essential, I can click save. As you've noticed, I've still not done the signatures. I could do the signatures at that point, and then in answer to your previous question, I could then click on them and overwrite them. But what I'm going to do now is, if I just click search and refresh this page, it's now giving, because the rest of the form is complete, it's now giving me the option to batch sign. So if I had 10 GOS1 forms from that day, I can tick all the boxes, click on the batch sign, and I can put in my performer's signature and my supplier's signature in the relevant places, click OK, and that would copy those 2 signatures onto all of the 10 forms that I've selected here. Now if I refresh the page, in fact it's already done it, it's got it here, I'm now seeing the option submit GOS1 via eGOS. So if I tick that box, first of all, I'll just click on the button here just to check the server is ready, and just for my benefit, checking I'm connected to the test server. Yeah, so that's just saying that I'm connected to the PCSE's test server in this case. And I'm just going to now submit that. Okay, so that's gone off to PCSE, submitted the form, and it's just awaiting confirmation at the moment. If I refresh the status at any time, okay, so it's quite quick usually. It's come back as accepted. Obviously, if something was wrong with the form, some of the data on the form was incorrect, it might be rejected, and I would then be able to see why it was rejected and then clear it down and resubmit it after correcting the data. But yeah, so that form has now gone to PCSE. If I refresh status, sometimes I think it maybe takes a bit longer, but eventually that will come back with a date when I can expect payment. So that's pretty much GOS. In fact, well, one other thing just to make a note of here, you've got a print summary. So if I click on the print summary, it's just going to give me a PDF to tell me what the current status is of forms during the dates that I've got selected. So it's just taking a while to build up. There we go. Yeah, so between those dates just gives me a bit of an overview of numbers that have been submitted and so on, and how much what the values were. Yeah, okay, so that's GOS. So probably obviously the same for GOS 3s, and we're not quite ready with GOS 4s yet, but they'll be coming on hopefully before the end of the month. Recalls, well, actually, while we're on this report, yeah, I'll just follow up on the reporting section. Obviously, there's a few key ones. Dispensing info is pretty vital. I can set start and end dates and view a summary initially, and that will show me all of the sales between those 2 dates and the amounts, the NHS test, voucher values, excuse me, the NHS A voucher totals and so on. In this summary report, if I click on view detail, it's pretty much the same information, but gives me a lot more information about which vouchers. So obviously it's broken down into each of the vouchers that you want to record. I can also export the detail of that report and create a spreadsheet, so you can obviously send it to your accountant or keep it for your own records, whatever you want to do with it. So that's the dispensing report. Another key one is appointment info report. So I can specify a date, a clinic date. I'll just put in today's date and see if there's not much data in the. So this is basically looking at the diary. In fact, if I just go back to the diary and remind myself when I've got some data in there. Okay, on Tuesday the 13th. So if I go into appointment info and select the date of the 13th, search. So this will tell me all of the appointments that are booked in for that date. I can select all or some of the appointments, and I can choose to send an SMS reminder, for example, or pre-print the GOS1 forms, obviously still on the old style form. emailing, you can send an email reminders to the patients, SMS I've already mentioned, and so on. So that's the appointments info. Got collections and payments, which just basically lists those things, collections made and payments made and so on. And then the other one we've got here is order status. So as I was building up a dispense, an order would be created, and obviously I can use this part of the system to track the status of the orders. So obviously the status here is new. I could say it's gone to lab or it's been checked and so on. If I can just jump at this point to patient data, I can do that on an individual level as well. If I go to this red writing at the top right corner and click on the items, it takes me to a dispensing update page for that patient. And so here I've got this order 8610. If I update sale ID 8610, it allows, so what I've currently got set up is stored in the system is that the due date for specs 1 was the 9th of the 10th, 2020. So I can obviously order, change or add dates to that process. I can track when it has arrived or when it's been checked. And obviously when a patient comes in and pays a balance, I can also specify a balance payment here and record it on the system. So this particular system is embedded into a current user of Blink's website, and they direct their patients here. So patients can select that they want an NHS test, they specify when they want it, the name of the optometrist, and obviously it displays their available times. They then go through and fill the form in with their name and number, details, and then that'll submit it and store it directly in the Blink diary. So that's obviously just an extra that you can offer to your patients. So if I go into recalls, we've got various different options for recall. We've got auto recall, manual recall, or recall search. So recall search, first of all, just allows me to use different criteria to select patients from the database. So if I don't select anything, click find, it'll tell me I've got 223 people on this database. Obviously I can select them for maybe tell me everyone who's got a contact lens examination between two dates. So 1st of September to the 31st of October, and click find, and it's found 3 patients who've had contact lens examinations in that period. So yes, that's the recall search, which is just used for retrieving patients. Oh, also as well here, actually, as well, it's worth noting, I can specify patients who've purchased certain items. So if I select this one here, it should tell me that one person, or at least one person, yeah, including Richard Smith from today, has bought that wolf frame. Manual recalls allows me to specify a start and end time. So I might say, tell me everyone who's due in October 2020. So select 1st to the 31st of October and select first recall letter and click find. And it hasn't found anyone. If I just open up that period, 31st of December, click find. Okay, let me just choose second recall. Oh. Tell you what, let me, because it's only got a couple of hundred patients in there, maybe nobody's due. Let me just open that up and go back to first recall. Okay, so it's found 23 patients who are due within that period that I've requested. So I can select them all, or obviously I can select individual ones. I can click next, which takes me through to the letter template section. And here I can select which letter I want to send to them. Obviously, it could be an SMS template, or it could be an email template, or a more traditional letter template. So if I select this letter template, then I just select the method of sending it. So obviously, if it's email or print or SMS text, but if I just select print and tick the box to say it's been sent for clinical reasons for GDPR purposes, and then click go, it'll tell me it's sending 23 documents to the printer. So it's a semi-automated process. So if I just jump back a couple of steps, I'll tell you what, first of all, I'll just illustrate that you've got the recall history. So I can, or in fact, I've gone straight to it here. So the system's telling me that on the 6th of the 10th, which is just now. I've sent 23 letters. If something went wrong with the printer, I can click on reprint, reselect the template and do the same again. But if you wanted to send it to DocMail, then yes, you would just have, to be honest with DocMail, you do need to have quite specific letter templates, but once they're set up, you click your letter template. The method would be send to DocMail, and basically that will generate a series of PDFs. I would then also need to generate a CSV file containing the patient's names, which I can use both of those files to then upload to DocMail. Method for recall, I've got auto recall here. So if I go into this, so basically this is literally just a click of a button. Once it's been configured and set up, it's a click of a button to send the recalls. Now what this does is it uses the patient types, and I go into edit settings by clicking here. And so I might want to say that the first recall is sent 21 days before the recall date. I select which template I want to send and the method. So post would just mean it sends it to your printer. If I select for the second one, 30 days after the recall date, I might want to send a different letter. First letter over 60 I'll just send, and then I might want to send that one by email. And then 75 days after the recall date, I might want to send the third one, and I might want to send an SMS message, and obviously select SMS. I can configure this different templates, different methods, different periods for a different patient type. So this is patient type A, which is a warning patient, obviously default or target. You can specify these, and I can set these up as you want to use them. Different practices use them in different ways, and once that's been saved, then the system will go through when you click on auto recalls, and if anybody matches the criteria here, then it will send their letter to the printer and so on. So yeah, once that's set up, it makes sending the recalls even easier. That's pretty much everything on the system, I think, unless I've forgotten something.